Have you ever wondered how close you've come to danger without even realizing it? At Shivering Vault, we take you there, one story at a time. But before you drift off, consider liking this video, commenting where you're watching from and at what time, and subscribing to keep these chilling stories coming. Now, let's dive into these unsettling tales. It was one of those breezy spring afternoons that made you forget you ever lived in a city. My name's Alex. I'm 17, just about to finish junior year, and up until last fall, I lived in Houston. My parents decided we needed a fresh start, so we moved out to this really small town in rural Texas. It's not even really a town, more like a bunch of houses and farms scattered miles apart. We got this rental house way out on this old dirt road with a few neighbors here and there, but nothing real close. The nearest gas station is like 15 minutes away. The house is decent. Single story, kind of creaky floors, a porch swing in the front that I sit on sometimes when I can't sleep. The backyard is huge, and right behind it there's this big open cornfield that stretches for what feels like forever. I had only been out into the corn once or twice since we moved in, and that was enough. The stalks are shoulder high right now, not even full grown, but dense. Once you're in there, everything kind of looks the same, and it's stupid easy to get turned around. Anyway, this happened sometime in April. It was a Saturday, late afternoon. My little brother Ethan, who's 9, was bugging me all day to take him outside. He's obsessed with this red and blue kite our aunt sent in a care package. It's got stars on it and looks kind of like a Captain America shield with a tail. Honestly, I didn't want to go. I was in the middle of watching something, but my mom gave me that look, so I told him I'd take him out for a bit. We walked up the hill behind our house to this patch of open space near the road where the corn hasn't grown in yet. It's a pretty good spot for flying kites because the wind comes through strong from the west and there's nothing in the way. I just stood off to the side, leaning against the old barbed wire fence that runs along the edge of the cornfield, watching him run with the kite. He was laughing like crazy, yelling at me every time it dipped or flipped around. It was kind of nice, actually. Quiet, peaceful. The wind kept picking up, not too hard, but enough that the kite was really soaring. Then this strong gust came out of nowhere and snap. The string slipped right out of Ethan's hands. I saw it happen in slow motion. The kite shot off, dipping and twisting and finally falling somewhere out in the corn. Before I could even say anything, Ethan just bolted after it. He's fast when he wants to be, and before I could stop him, he was already halfway into the field, the corn swallowing him up. I shouted for him to wait, but he didn't answer. I figured he'd come right back out once he realized how thick it was in there. I stayed by the edge, squinting into the stalks. I could hear the wind rustling through the corn, but nothing else. No giggling, no shouting, nothing. "Ethan?" I called. "You see it?" No answer. I waited maybe 2-3 minutes, figuring he was just being a brat, maybe trying to scare me. I called again. Still nothing. That's when the weird feeling started. You ever get that sinking sort of feeling in your stomach, like your body knows something's wrong before your brain does? That's what it was. I stepped up closer to the edge of the corn and cupped my hands around my mouth. "Ethan! I'm serious, man. Come out!" Nothing. It got real quiet all of a sudden, like the wind was still moving but muffled. I don't know how to explain it. The whole air felt off, like how it gets right before a storm, only the sky was clear as day. Then, just when I was starting to panic, I heard the stalks rustling, fast, heavy, and then Ethan burst out of the corn, wide-eyed, gasping, face pale like he'd seen a ghost. I remember grabbing him and asking what happened, if he got lost or hurt. He looked up at me and his lips were trembling. He just goes, "There's a man in there." I froze. "What?" Ethan looked back toward the corn, then up at me again, clutching my arm with his little fingers. He said his truck's parked just past the field. He wanted me to help him find his dog. I didn't say anything, just stared. But there was no dog, Ethan whispered. He didn't have a dog. He tried to grab me. I felt my whole body stiffen. My mouth went dry. But I didn't even know what to say. I looked out over the corn, but nothing was moving, just the breeze bending the stalks. I asked Ethan which direction the man was in, but he just shook his head. He said he didn't know. He ran as soon as the guy reached out. I didn't want to scare Ethan more, but my hands were shaking now too. I could feel it. I grabbed Ethan's hand and said, "We're going back to the house." I didn't want to wait around to see if the guy was real or just some freak Ethan imagined. But deep down, I knew Ethan wasn't making this up. I could see it in his eyes. We were halfway across the dirt path back toward the road when I heard it. Footsteps, crunching over the dried grass and gravel, slow, deliberate. I turned around, shielding Ethan behind me, and that's when I saw him. He stepped out from the corn like he'd been standing there, just waiting. Not running, not yelling, just stepping out like he belonged there. He was probably in his 40s, tall, a little heavy but not sloppy. He had on a grayish plaid shirt with sleeves rolled halfway up and jeans that were dirty at the bottom like he'd been walking through the mud. His face was rough, like he hadn't shaved in days, with a patchy beard and this faded, grime-covered baseball cap pulled low over his forehead. But the thing that got me the most was how calm he looked. Too calm. He had this weird little smile on his face, like the kind someone gives you when they already know something you don't. In one hand, he was holding a leash, just a black nylon leash, dangling loose like it should have had a dog at the end of it. But there was no dog. Not even paw prints in the dirt near him. His other hand stayed tucked in his jacket pocket. "Hey boys," he said, still smiling. His voice was low but friendly, like some guy talking to kids in a grocery store. "You forgot to help me look for my dog." I didn't say anything. I just stared at him, trying to keep Ethan behind me without making it obvious. Ethan's fingers dug into my shirt. He wasn't even shaking anymore, just completely frozen. The guy took a step toward us. "I think he ran off toward the edge of the field," he said. "You didn't see him? Little brown dog. Real friendly." He looked at Ethan when he said that last part. I was trying to think fast. If I should run, yell, do something. There was no way this guy had a dog. I didn't hear any barking the whole time Ethan was in there. The cornfield was totally silent until my brother came running out. Plus, why would he be out there alone without even calling the dog's name? Everything about this felt wrong. I glanced around. The road was totally empty. But then the man took another step. This time, slower. Slower. He wasn't trying to get to us fast. He was taking his time, like he didn't think we'd go anywhere. I looked down and saw a rusted metal stake half buried in the grass by the edge of the fence. It looked like an old signpost or marker someone had pulled out. Without thinking, I grabbed it and held it like a bat. "Back off," I said. It came out louder than I meant it to, my voice cracking a little. I didn't feel brave. I was shaking so hard my teeth were clicking together. The guy stopped. That smile finally twitched a little. His eyes flicked down at the metal rod in my hands, then back to me. "You don't need to do all that," he said, still keeping his hand in his jacket pocket. "I just wanted a little help." Neither of us moved. Then, off in the distance, we heard it. A low rumble. Tires on gravel. A pickup truck. It was coming from down the road, and from the corner of my eye, I saw the front of it turning the bend and slowing down. An old blue Ford, one I'd seen before. Mr. Greeley. He was this older guy who owned a farm about 2 properties down from us. I'd met him once when my dad and I helped him load some lumber at the hardware store a few months back. He waved to us every time he drove by. The second that truck got close enough for the driver to really see what was going on, the man in the cornfield took a step back, then another, and without a word, he turned and walked backward into the corn. Gone. Like he was never there. Mr. Greeley pulled his truck over real slow, squinting at us through the window. "You boys all right?" he called out. I didn't even answer. I just scooped up Ethan and ran to the truck like my life depended on it. Mr. Greeley helped us into the passenger seat and asked again what happened. I told him someone was in the cornfield. I described the guy, the leash, everything. Mr. Greeley's face darkened. He didn't say much, just nodded and muttered something under his breath about goddamn drifters. He drove us all the way back to our driveway and waited while we ran inside. My mom freaked out, of course. She hugged Ethan so tight I thought she'd break him. My dad called the sheriff's office right away. A deputy came out later that night. I told him everything. He took notes, asked Ethan questions that I could tell made him uncomfortable. Eventually he said they'd take a look around the cornfield and check nearby properties, but I don't think they ever found anyone. I didn't sleep at all that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that guy's face. That stupid calm smile, that leash just swinging from his hand like bait. Over the next few days, my parents kept Ethan inside. My dad drove him to school and back. I started carrying a pocket knife even though I knew it probably wouldn't do much. The worst part was that I kept thinking, what would have happened if Ethan hadn't run fast enough? A week later, we heard rumors. Some family on the other side of the county had a kid get approached by a man in a cornfield. Same description. Said he was looking for his dog. Tried to lead the kid deeper into the field. The kid ran. The man disappeared. Nothing on the news, though. Nothing official. Just whispers. We don't go near that cornfield anymore. I don't even walk along that dirt road unless I absolutely have to. I wasn't sure I wanted to post this here. Me and my buddy Riley haven't talked much about what happened, and I guess we were both hoping we'd be able to just move on. But I keep seeing people online talking about the footage we uploaded like it's a joke or a setup, and it's not. None of it was planned. None of it was fake. If anything, we didn't show everything. And I get why people think it's made up. I'd probably think that too if I hadn't lived through it. So yeah, here goes. I'll just tell it from the beginning and let you decide. I'm Nate. I'm 22, originally from Fort Worth. I go to school in Austin now, but last fall during a long weekend in October, I went back home to see family and hang out with Riley. He's been my best friend since high school, and we started a small YouTube channel together, mostly exploring abandoned places, weird roadside stuff, the kind of videos that get picked up in weird corners of the internet. Nothing huge, but we had maybe 2K subs back then. That weekend, Riley picked me up in his old Jeep. We grabbed coffee and drove out west of Fort Worth just to see what we could find. We had a list of potential spots from a couple Facebook groups and forums. Most were duds. Burned out barns, empty sheds, places already stripped of anything interesting. But then we hit one that caught us off guard. About an hour outside of Lubbock, in this nothing little town that didn't even have a gas station anymore, we saw a handmade sign nailed to a post near a dry field. It was faded, peeling white paint on warped wood, and all it said was, Autumn Acres, Family Fun Maze and Fairground. We didn't see anything at first, just old chain link fence and brittle grass. But when we parked and walked past a clump of mesquite trees, it opened up. There it was, a whole fairground, fenced off, overgrown, and forgotten. The booths were still there, half-collapsed wooden food stalls, broken signs hanging crooked, bits of sun-bleached plastic tarp flapping in the breeze. There was even an old stage set up with metal folding chairs tipped over and scattered, and then behind it all, the corn maze. It was still standing. We couldn't believe it. The stalks were dry and brittle, yellow-brown, clearly dead, but still somehow upright, maybe from the density. They were taller than us, 7 feet at least. Tight, close together, you couldn't see more than a few feet down each corridor. Immediately, we started filming. Riley had his GoPro strapped to his chest, and I had mine too. We brought 2 cameras on tripods as well, planning to leave them at the start of the maze to record us going in from different angles. The idea came quick, a corn maze survival challenge. Riley suggested we make it creepy, like Blair Witch, but real. Nighttime, separate paths, 30 minutes alone. It was stupid. And yeah, we were hyped. The whole thing felt like content gold. By the time we got set up, the sun was almost down. The sky was streaky orange and purple, and the wind was picking up. You could hear the corn rattling in it, this dry, whispering sound that honestly gave me the chills, but I laughed it off. We synced cameras, hit record, and slapped hands. 30 minutes, then we find each other. Riley grinned. Winner gets to pick where we eat. I laughed. Try not to pee yourself out there, man. He flipped me off and took off down one side of the maze. I waited 10 seconds, then walked in on the opposite side. At first, it was kind of fun. The stalks were tall, but spaced just enough that you could move around without having to squeeze through. I kept narrating dumb stuff to the camera, trying to sound spooky, kept making jokes about Children of the Corn and how I was going to get possessed. The only sound was the wind through the stalks and my own footsteps crunching through dried dirt and leaves. No birds, no bugs, just that papery rustling sound from the corn moving with the breeze. 5 minutes in, I stopped to check my camera and look at the map I'd drawn. We didn't have a real map, of course, but Riley sketched a rough layout earlier after doing a quick drone flyover from the parking lot. It was mostly loops and forks, nothing super complicated. Then I heard it. Rustling. Fast. Like someone running between the rows. I stopped moving and held my breath. It came again, off to my left, a little deeper in. I raised my flashlight and tried to peer through the gaps in the corn, but there was nothing. Just dead stalks moving in the wind. Riley? I called out. Nothing. I figured he was messing with me, trying to spook me. He's done that before on hikes. So I kept moving, talking to the camera, half laughing, but also starting to feel uneasy. The wind died a little after that, and the quiet got worse. I could hear my boots crunching on every step. Every so often, I thought I heard someone walking near me, but I never saw anything. 10 minutes later, I heard something else. A voice. Faint, but clear enough. It was my name. Nate? I froze. It didn't sound right. It sounded scared. Not like Riley's usual crap. Then again, Nate, bro, it was coming from ahead, somewhere in the maze. I took off, calling back. Riley, where are you? I moved fast, barely watching where I was going, turning left, right, not even thinking anymore. I turned a corner and stopped cold. There was a camera on the ground, Riley's GoPro, still recording. Right next to it was his phone, cracked screen, face down in the dirt. My heart was pounding. I picked up the GoPro and turned slowly. Then I saw something at the far end of the corridor, a shape. Someone stepping into view for just a second, then vanishing back into the maze. I thought it was Riley at first, maybe hurt, maybe running. But the body language was all wrong. Whoever it was didn't look scared. He looked like he was waiting. I just stood there. I don't know how long. It's like my brain couldn't quite process what I was seeing. The figure at the far end of the path, he was there for only a second, but it felt like forever. The light from my flashlight caught his outline just enough, a tall guy. Thin, wearing this oversized jacket that looked like it had once been tan, but was stained all over. And in his right hand, held loose but low, was a shovel, rusted, old, worn smooth at the handle like he'd had it for a long, long time. I blinked, and then he stepped backward into the corn, like melting into it. Gone. Just like that. I didn't realize I was holding my breath until I gasped. My lungs burned, my throat felt dry, and my shoulder was tense from gripping the flashlight so hard. That wasn't Riley, I knew that now. I don't care what anyone says. People online keep saying it was a prank or a setup or we faked it. No, that was a real person, and he wasn't supposed to be there. And Riley, he still wasn't answering. I picked up his GoPro. It was scuffed up bad, like it'd been dropped during a fall. The chest strap had been ripped off, just lying there beside it like someone had yanked it off hard. It was still recording, but the lens was cracked down the middle. I looked around. Every direction looked the same, just walls of corn and dry dirt under my boots. I couldn't hear anything anymore. I remember whispering to myself, okay, think. I turned on my phone. No signal. One bar flickering in and out. I thought about running out of the maze back to the car, but the moment I turned to go, I heard it again. A scream. High. Panicked. Real. Not a joke. Not for a video. Riley. It came from somewhere deeper in, maybe just past the place where I saw the guy disappear. I knew I should have run the other way. That's what anyone with half a brain would have done, but I didn't. I couldn't. My best friend was in there. Something was happening to him. So I ran toward the scream. I don't even remember how long I was running. The rows blurred together. My flashlight bounced wildly. I smacked into corn stalks, tripped over roots, my breath coming in shallow gulps. I called his name over and over. Riley, Riley! But I got nothing back. Then I started seeing signs of something. Disturbed patches of dirt, trampled stalks, like someone had been dragging something, or someone. My stomach twisted. I kept pushing forward, every part of me buzzing as like my body was trying to warn me to stop. That's when I saw the pit. At first, I didn't understand what I was looking at. It was this shallow hole dug into the ground between rows, maybe 4 feet long, 2 feet wide. There were piles of loose dirt around the edges, fresh dirt, and inside it, curled up, unmoving, was Riley. His face was scraped, his shirt was torn. There was blood on his forehead, but I couldn't tell how bad it was. I jumped down and shook him, gently at first, then harder. Riley, dude, wake up! He groaned. His eyes fluttered. Thank God, he was alive. He looked up at me like he couldn't believe I was real. Then his face changed. He started shaking his head. Behind, you. I spun, and he was there. That man, that same man, standing not 10 feet away in the corn, closer now. The shovel raised. I didn't think. I just grabbed a handful of dirt and flung it at him, jumped out of the pit, and pulled Riley halfway over the edge. I don't even remember how I got him out. I just remember screaming and dragging and stumbling as I tried to put space between us and that man. Riley was half awake, legs barely working. I threw one of his arms over my shoulder and limped with him, pushing through the corn. I didn't care about the path anymore. I just moved. Anywhere but there. I could hear the man behind us, not running. Walking. Always steady, always close. It felt like forever, but we broke through the edge of the maze at last. 1 minute we were surrounded by stalks, and the next we were out in the open field, moonlight flooding the dirt and broken concrete of the fairground. We were maybe 50 feet from the parking area. My phone buzzed. I yanked it out. 2 bars. Finally. I hit 911. The signal dropped once, reconnected, and I got through. I tried to explain everything, but I was talking too fast. The dispatcher kept asking me to repeat stuff. I kept looking over my shoulder, but the corn was still. The man didn't follow us out. The cops showed up maybe 20 minutes later. 2 deputies, then 3 more. Ambulance. They took Riley in for a head injury, but he was okay. Concussion, couple stitches. He said he blacked out in the maze and woke while being dragged, then everything went dark again. The sheriff's office found the guy the next morning. He was sleeping inside one of the half-collapsed food booths. He had a tent stashed nearby, hidden under some scrap metal and a blue tarp. The shovel was leaning against a busted cooler. Turns out he was an escaped inmate, had walked away from some minimum security labor program a year earlier. He'd been living on the fairground since at least spring, eating whatever he could find, stealing from nearby farms. They think he'd been watching us since we arrived. We didn't upload anything for a long time after that. The footage we did release was cut short. We didn't show Riley's scream or me finding him in the pit. Just the run, the glimpse of the guy, the chaos. It ended up getting views anyway. But people said we faked it. Let them. We know what happened. We haven't gone back to the maze. We don't even know if it's still standing, but sometimes I still dream about it. The walls of corn, the quiet footsteps behind me. I don't really do internet stuff much. Never had a Facebook, never cared to. Um, but I've been thinking about something that happened to me a couple years ago, something that's been stuck in the back of my mind like a sliver under the skin. Never healed right. Figured maybe if I put it out there, it'll let me sleep better. Or maybe someone else knows about that place. So anyway, name's Donnie. I've been driving a rig since I was 22. Started with my uncle's company running short routes in Oklahoma, and now I haul for a parts distributor out of Fort Worth. I'm not a spooky guy. I don't believe in ghosts or Bigfoot or any of that stuff, but I know danger. I've been held up once outside Albuquerque, had a guy try to climb into my cab while I was sleeping in Memphis, but none of that shook me like what I saw outside Lubbock. This was maybe October of 21. Could have been early November. Weather was dry. Nights were cool, but not cold. I was hauling a load of electrical equipment down to El Paso and decided to take one of the back routes to avoid some construction near Midland. Don't remember the highway number, but it was narrow, rough, and flat as hell. Nothing but endless rows of dead corn and old fence posts. Not a house in sight. You know the kind of road I mean. No lights, no towns. Just the occasional hand-painted road sign that looks like it's been there since the 70s. I'd been driving about 10 hours at that point. My legs were cramping and my eyes were getting heavy. Figured I'd better pull over and grab a few hours of sleep before I got myself killed. That's when I saw it. Just past a curve, barely lit, was this tiny rest stop. Not even a real one. More like a wide gravel shoulder with an old light pole stuck in the ground and a busted vending machine leaning against a low cinder block wall. The light was flickering like a dying bug zapper. There weren't any other vehicles. Just me, the open road behind, and cornfields all around. I pulled my rig off to the far end of the lot next to the little wall. Killed the engine. The silence hit hard. Out there, you don't realize how loud your truck is until you shut it off. Suddenly, it's like the world just stops. All I could hear was the wind rustling through the dry corn. That sound, it's like paper rubbing against itself. Soft but constant, like something breathing real slow. I checked all my locks, cab and trailer both. I'm careful like that, always have been. Climbed into the sleeper, kicked off my boots, and laid back. I remember telling myself I'd wake up in 3 hours, tops, just enough to get my edge back. I was almost out when I heard it. Rustling. Not the wind kind, though. This was more deliberate. Closer. Like something or someone walking slowly through the corn near the truck. At first, I didn't think much of it. Could have been a coyote or a deer. I've parked next to fields plenty of times and you get animals sniffing around. I tried to ignore it. Then came the whispering. Low. Real low. Like two people whispering fast just outside the cab, like they were laughing or muttering. I couldn't make out the words, but I know it was human. I sat up fast and yanked the curtain back just a bit. The parking lot was empty. I checked the mirrors. Nothing. But that sound, it was still there. Like they were walking in circles around the truck, always staying just out of sight. The corn kept swaying a little, even though the wind had died down. The whispering came and went like it was riding on air. I told myself I was tired. Maybe I was dreaming. I laid back down. That's when the whole trailer banged. Hard. It wasn't like something hit it from above. It was like someone ran up and punched the back doors. One big wham that shook the whole rig. I jumped up and grabbed my flashlight. I carry a heavy-duty one with the long handle, can double as a club if need be. I threw open the driver door, climbed down, and spun the light around. Nothing. Gravel. Old tire marks. Corn waving gently. No cars. No animals. No people. I circled the truck, even walked back to the trailer doors. Not a dent, no footprints in the gravel, just me and the whispering corn. I went back inside, locked everything again, sat in the driver's seat for a while, hands gripping the steering wheel, flashlight in my lap. I must have nodded off. Next thing I know, I'm hearing whispering again, but this time it's clearer, closer. I snapped awake, and I swear to God I saw a shadow pass right in front of the windshield, like someone ducking just out of view. I hit the headlights, high beams, lit up the corn straight ahead. Nothing. But then I saw it. On the passenger side window, muddy fingerprints, 4 of them, smeared down the glass like someone pressed their hand and slid it downward. I stared at it for a long time. That window had been clean. I would have noticed that when I parked. I check all my windows at every stop. It's a habit. You'd be surprised how much glass thieves target sleeper trucks. But now, fingerprints. Fresh, human-sized. That was it for me. I threw the rig in gear and peeled out of there so fast, I barely checked the mirror. Tires kicked up gravel. The whole trailer bounced on the shoulder. I didn't care. I just drove. As I pulled back onto the highway, I saw them. The headlights swept the first 10 feet of the cornfield, and in that moment, I caught a glimpse. 3 figures, standing just inside the edge of the field, not moving. All 3 wore these burlap sack masks. You know the kind. They looked like feed bags with eye holes cut out. One of them had something in his hand. Looked like a pipe or maybe a tire iron. I blinked, and they were gone. I didn't stop driving until I hit a truck stop diner almost 50 miles down the road. Parked under the lights, I went inside, ordered coffee, didn't even sit, just stood there at the counter shaking like a damn leaf. There was another driver there, older guy, gray beard and everything. I told him what I'd seen. Didn't even care if I sounded nuts. He listened real quiet. Then he just nodded and said, "That old rest stop by the fields? Yeah, that place is weird, man. You're not the first." He wouldn't say anything else. I've never gone back. Don't even remember exactly where it was, and I'm not sure I'd tell anyone even if I did. That stretch of road ain't worth the shortcut. I still think about the fingerprints, the shadow, and the creepy whispers. Still hear that whispering sometimes when I sleep in the cab with the engine off. And I never stop where I can't see another pair of headlights. That's it for today's tale from Shivering Vault. If you have a story worth sharing, drop it in the comments or send it our way. Don't forget to subscribe and share with your fellow thrill seekers. As always, the Shivering Vault thanks you for unlocking today's tale. Until next time, the vault awaits your return.